Okay, so now I'm going to start working on some of the other layers. We have a couple of flowers here and I've already painted one of the leaves. So I want to start putting in some of those long skinny leaves, and I'm going to take a medium-sized brush and work with some green, the same green that we used when we did the first layer. We put some of this leaf green, and if you don't have that color, that's okay, because you can basically use a lot of yellow and then just mix a little tiny bit of green with it, okay, and that makes a great base color. So I am going to take my brush and kind of push down and drag the paint all the way down there. It's a nice stroke for these long sword-like leaves that you see on tulips. And I'm just going to pull the paint downwards so it kind of blends in a little bit with that stem. And then you notice that on tulip leaves, they're sort of a little bit more pointed on the top. So I use the tip of my brush to drag the paint out, and then I'm going to pull it down this way. So then I have this really nice green leaf. Now here comes the fun part. I'm going to change my brushes out, and I'm going to take this other green that I have on my palette that's a little bit darker. It's called sap green. And you can use any green that you have on your palette that is darker for this step. And what you're going to do is now use the very tip of your brush and then start dragging some long strokes. And what happens is it's going to start to mix and merge with the green that we have there. So we get a really nice blend. All right, so there we have that color green going backwards and forwards just so that I get a nice edge. Okay, and then I'm also going to paint this other leaf that I see over on the other side. I'll take some more of my leaf green, and then I just want to do the same thing, go about halfway down on my brush and drag that stroke downwards. Okay, and maybe make some strokes the other way so we get a really nice blend. And then I'm going to use the tip of my brush to shape that stroke, and then put some sap green on top because it's blending in really nicely. And then I'm going to shape the edge. Okay, there's the tip of my brush, and then take some more sap green. So there we have another long skinny leaf. All right, so oh, I could do another one over here as well. Just taking some of the same color that we have on the palette, and then just painting in a little bit wider on the bottom, and then just pulling the color up and around so it's a very sort of curvy on the edge right there. Okay, and then using some water on my brush just to blend it out a wee bit. And I can always come back into the same color, this is called sap green, and take a wee bit of blue. Now, if you add blue to green, you're going to get a darker color, a darker green. And that might be useful maybe if you want to put a little bit of a darker value right at the bottom there of that leaf. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull this around. And then I want to blend it in with the layer that we have underneath, which is pretty dry now. So I'm just use a little bit of water and go backwards and forwards. So we have everything that's all working together. So there we have some of our leaves. And I think I might want to put another leaf here as well. So I'm just going to make these strokes now that are a little bit more simple. And I'm making these quicker. And you're going to find too that the more that you paint the same thing over and over, you're going to also pick up speed. In the beginning, you're going to want to make sure you really slow down, and that will help you learn that particular technique, especially if it's something new that perhaps you haven't done before. I'm going to push this out. So that is part of the bottom or the base of this leaf. Now what I want to do is start painting in this other tulip, and I'm going to start now with some pink. I just love the color pink, and I'm going to paint this U shape, which is the kind of wider part there of the base of the tulip. And then I'm going to paint the stroke, pulling it down. Okay, and then I'm going to use just a little bit of some water so I can get a nice light color. And I'm kind of making these circular strokes just to fill in that shape. Okay, so there we have this tulip right there. And then I think I'll take some more of this yellowish green, the leaf green color, because I really do want to make sure we get the stem. And now the stem is connecting with some of those other leaves. And also I can add some other colors to this tulip if I want, just to make it look maybe a little bit different than this one. So I'm going to take this other red. It's a darker red. It's called Alizarin Crimson. It's on my palette. It looks like this. And this is a color that a lot of watercolor artists use. It's a really nice red. It's much darker than the pink that we had. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. I'm just going to put some strokes of that color right around the edge. I'm going to create a little V shape right in here. Okay? So what's happening is because I already have paint down on my paper, as I put that second layer down, it starts to blend and bleed in with what I already have. And then I'll just put another stroke there. Okay, so there we have that one there. Now I could also make it a little bit darker if I wanted. So maybe I'll add some purple to it, because that's a really good way to darken red. Or you could even add blue. And I'm going to put a little streak of color right there. And maybe another bit there. So there is my other tulip. Okay, this one is a little bit different than this one. And that's because I like to see variety in my paintings. Now, you can also use the back of your brush if you want to carve in some of the lines between those petals. It's a nice way that's very subtle. You probably can't see it that much on my paper, okay, on the camera, but it really does create a more softer line. And often we will see on flowers like tulips, little veins, little lines. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry off, and then I'm going to move over, and I have another little tulip that is hiding behind this one in the front. So I'm going to this time take some alizarin crimson, and I'm just going to paint this one behind the one that's in front. And actually I'm going to now go for a bigger brush. We'll take some of this, and I'm just going to fill this entire area, this entire shape, with some of this alizarin crimson, pulling the color around, making sort of a V shape right here. Okay, so now I'm going to take some more red. This is a darker red. And notice how I'm creating these darker strokes for the in-between of the petals, just like we did on some of the other tulips. And that's just allowing us to have some variety in our color. And it's also allowing us to have a little bit more depth in there. Okay, so I'm going to right now let this completely dry, and we'll come back and finish it off.